Hello everyone, I'm the Weather Dude. Welcome back, and today we are once again addressing the extreme weather and the potential, what's looking very likely is a multi-day tornado outbreak across what's starting in the south central and then heading through the southeast. So stay tuned for the whole video and enjoy. Before we get started with the video though, if you guys have not already, please consider subscribing. It really does help my channel grow. I want to thank you guys so much for 2,000 subscribers. We've flown past, and hopefully we can hit our next goal of 3,000 subscribers soon. And also, to help this video reach more people, please consider liking and sharing it as well. And let's get into the video now. And you guys might recall the severe weather event that we literally just had, like not even a few days ago, right? The 12th and the 13th of March, you can see the storm reports. We had 3 tornado reports across Texas. We had several reports of wind, some hail. All right, total reports on March 12th was 17th. I'm just kind of briefly recapping with these two maps here. This one, obviously, 108 total storm reports from the 13th, so it was a more significant day. We had 30 tornadoes all in northern Texas, and now, believe it or not, that same region, the Texas Panhandle, is under a blizzard warning for 2 to 4 inches of snow. Not much, but with the wind, there are blizzard warnings out there now. So I just find that very amazing. So that's why this is extreme weather, very extreme, in fact. All right. So now we're going to be addressing the threat that we're going to be seeing now through Thursday. All right. So today and into tonight, it's across like the south central, except a bit farther north than last time. Then it's gonna dash its way across to the southeast by Wednesday through Wednesday night, and then Thursday it is on the southeast and southeast coast locations, right? Like the Carolinas, Georgia, North Florida. All right, so your day would be on Thursday, right? So you see, we got the cold front behind it. It's really cold. Any lingering moisture is producing snow in Texas. All right, and then we have the warm front. All right, and in here, out ahead of a cold front, it's warm, and behind a warm front, it's warm. Right, so this is your warm sector right here, and this will obviously advance its way east, right? It won't just stay there. And then you got the jet stream coming in, producing those winds. All right, surface winds coming out of the south, classic jet stream winds, 5,000 feet plus, coming from the southwest. All right, and then that's how you get your classic tornado setup. All right, so let's zoom out a little bit here, and you can see for tonight, or for today into tonight, you can see the greatest threat is right in that northern Oklahoma, southern Kansas kind of region. Right, including Enid, Oklahoma, Ponca City. I mean, obviously, like Woodward, Oklahoma. Obviously, these places are not as populated, right? I'm actually going to turn on the population graphic for all these, so you guys can see. Like, obviously, the more black that you see, the more densely populated place is, right? Like, I mean, this is the total amount of people, right? We're talking like probably a good 35 million people just today alone. Right, of course, because we got the Dallas Metro in there. If that marginal was pushed just a little bit further south, the Houston Metro would have been in that. That would have added to that number a lot. But still, 35 million people today. We're talking about like several hundreds of thousands of square miles. All right, and look at the tornado threats here. We got a 5% layer. Now, doesn't necessarily mean 5% chance. I would definitely say that's just like it's like a scale. So I would probably call it 2, 5, and 10 like low to moderate probabilities. I would call 15, 30, and 45 medium to high probabilities, and then maybe 45, 60, and the black shade. Those are your really high tornado probabilities. So trust me, tornado threat's not zero. But even if you were shaded in green, that's still pretty bad. We got about 30 million people, or 26 million people, excuse me. Under the gun for tornadoes, significant winds as well as hail. Now look at the hatch zone, right? I want to tell you, because there are magentas and purples that come after the reds as well, but the hatch zone, it jumps all over that. The hatch zone is significant, right? You can see significant, severe. So anywhere in that hatch zone, OKC, right? That's 3.3 million people in the really bad zone for hail. OKC, Wichita, Norman, Wichita Falls, Lawton, Oklahoma, and that's where you really need to be very careful. Not too far from San Antonio either is in that zone as well. All right, and then we turn towards tomorrow, where it's like, I mean, if you were to add all these numbers up, I mean, that's like over 41, maybe even 42 million people under the gun for severe weather. Tomorrow, like additional people. All right, and there you go, right across southeast, and look how large. usually, I mean, not all the time, but usually the moderate zone is a little small. I mean, the moderate zone encapsulates a lot of the southeast here. Keep that in mind. The wind, again, the hatched areas skips over the magenta and purple colors, goes straight to significant, which is the highest possible level. And that's 10 million people in that zone. All right. And not too many less people are in the 10 million zone as opposed to the other zones as well, right? Like look at wind, right? 10, you got 13 million people below that, 14 and 13. So there's just as many people pretty much in the hatch zone as there are in the red zone. All right, look at the tornado threat. Also, we got hatched colors here as well. All right, meaning top of the line threats, 9.4 million people. All right, so definitely be very careful. We'll be looking at some models pretty soon here. Hail, also the hatch zone, right? So this is going to be a very bad stuff. And the thing is, it isn't just tomorrow either because it goes into Thursday. All right, Thursday, it's more East Coast places, so we're seeing a lot more people probably affected on Thursday. If I'm adding this, I'm trying to add this up real quickly here. 43, that's probably like, yeah, that's probably almost just over, if not right about 60 million people, all right? Either in the dark green, the yellow, or the orange. That's about 60 million people, all right? Because we're moving towards the East Coast now, so it's a bit more populated. So yes, that's why I think Thursday could be almost just as bad of a threat because it's impacting a lot more people, right? 60 million people. And the probabilistic threat, look, we have the hatch zone already out for Georgia, South Carolina, and North Carolina, which is again, the worst possible category you could have. And that's 9 million people in that worst possible category. All right, now I'm going to look at a couple mesoscale discussions. I love when these come out because they're very detailed and they really, tell it like it is at what it's doing right now. You can see in this blue zone, southern Kansas, northern central Oklahoma, Texas Panhandle, elevated storms with a risk of large hail expected in 1 to 2 hours, and a watch could be issued. And in northern Texas, there is some elevated, some more convection. So keep that in mind too. Of course, that is very close to the center of rotation of that low, so that does make sense. We have another mesoscale discussion. That was 187. We also have MD 186. That is a conditional risk for severe hail and damaging wind gusts, and we could see a severe weather watch or tornado watch being issued here. All right, again, you got your cold front here, warm front here. Again, this is like your warm sector right now. Of course, that'll shift around. All right, so in this blue zone right over here. And of course, you're going to have a lot of convection and wind flow right out ahead of this low pressure system, so also do keep that in mind. All right, so we got 2 models to go over here. Each model is accompanied with quite a few maps. We have the HER model, the HRR high resolution, and we have the NAM model as well. So we're going to be looking at the set of HER models from the South Central, and then we're going to shift it over to Southeast, then the NAM for the South Central, and the NAM through the Southeast as well. So we're going to take a look at both the South Central and Southeast, so nobody is left out here. Here we're starting with the HER model, right? You can see, look at Texas. The low moves through Texas. Storms do blossom in Texas, right? But then once the low moves past, and we got blizzard conditions. I mean, this storm's just amazing, right? And you can see at first, the low is not quite so organized yet. It's getting itself together. It's pockets of severe weather, all right? This is like when you're waking up tomorrow, all right? And then the low starts getting itself organized a little bit. You see more, I mean, it won't be like one damaging line. There still will be some areas where supercells will be developing. We're going to be showing you a lot more detailed maps on the severe weather coming up very soon. It's not just the preset map I'm going to be showing you either, all right? So, and then you can see the low gets going. I mean, this is like later in the day, Wednesday, so heading toward nighttime. Of course, right? It has to be nighttime when the line starts forming, right? That's very bad. We know that nighttime tornadoes are like over twice as bad as they would be during the day just because of how dangerous they are. People are sleeping. They might not get the alerts. You can see the low spinning up in Missouri at this point. This is like about 8 p.m. or 8 p.m. on Wednesday evening, and you can see the line is still going very strong here. And then overnight, we're talking like when most people will be in bed, 10, 11, 12. We're at midnight right now, and it's pushing through Mississippi and Alabama. So staying up to a few extra hours. You may feel groggy the next morning, but it may save your life. So you definitely might want to do that, especially if your tornado threat is coming overnight. And even for eastern Kansas and western Missouri, maybe some snow for you guys on the wraparound of this as well. All right, so our first severe weather map here, we're going to go over what the HER model specifically is the CAPE, right? The surface-based CAPE. Just how much, because Texas, you saw how bad. I mean, the severe weather ramped up last second, right? I mean, there was only like a slight risk of severe weather, and all of a sudden enhanced was added and moderate was added, right? Like the threat really ramped up there quickly. Joules per kilogram wise, I can tell you, like heat, maybe I'll give it 2,000 at most. Like 1 to 2,000 is not that much. And the fact that we have a lot more than that than we did with the last system, and the last system was bad, right? Again, March 13th, we had 30 reports of tornadoes, 30 separate tornadoes. All right, so look at how much more CAPE we have. Not only how much more do we have, but how widespread it is, right? 2,000 to 3,000 joules per kilogram. Again, not the highest we've seen at all, but it's a lot higher than we have with the last one. And if the last one was bad, you should definitely be worried. Highest values I can see are over 3,000, but that's in Mexico, and not many storms are expected there. But still, a couple thousand joules per kilogram is still it's very high heat instability. It might just be enough to spark those dangerous storms. All right, so here we go. And then once we head towards later in the day, Wednesday, right, look at some of the instability we have in a place like Mississippi. If this is right, we could see some very dangerous storms blossom in Mississippi specifically, because our joules per kilogram are between 3 and even 3,500 joules per kilogram, right? And when you get more instability, those thunderstorms are going to grow taller and they're going to grow more destructive. You can see 3 to 3,500, like right in the middle of our scale here, right? It goes up to about 10,000. I'm sure it could go higher than that if we need it. Hopefully, we'll never go over 10,000. That'd be really bad. But you can see joules per kilogram goes up as the storms are coming through, as well as after the storms are coming through. The CAPE will fall to either very little or nothing. All right. And now we have our significant tornado parameter. Again, sticking with the HER model still for right now. All right. And you can see, I wouldn't say this really tells you where we are going to exactly see the significant tornadoes, right? It's giving you an idea of like what conditions or what places are conducive to seeing significant tornadoes. You can see, like, look at Texas there. I mean, we've got about 6.5 to a 7 inside the little zone right there, right? Like, it's like almost like a big cell, right? And if a cell were to form in there, it'd be very bad, considering that 6.5 is like the top of the scale, right, or towards the top, all right? And you're gonna see more images like this, right? Look at later in the day, Wednesday. You can see significant tornado parameters through Arkansas. You're gonna see them through Memphis. 2 places that the latest HER model run are highlighting. Look at this. Look at Mississippi, right? We're gonna see a lot of oranges and reds starting to blossom here, and a scale that goes up to probably 10, right? I would say 2.5 to 4 out of 10, right? 2.5, like that's like a 25 to 50% chance to see significant tornadoes, right? So definitely want to keep that in mind. Like, and then in these brighter purples, right, and the more maroon colors, that's where you get up 60% plus chance to see tornadoes, and not only better chance of tornadoes, but maybe more significant tornadoes. All right. And then one of the more important factors, right? One of the more important key or piece to the puzzle here. Do we have those turning of the winds with height? Because that's very important, right? So you can see, I mean, if you look in Texas here, right? Look at the surface winds indicated by the red coming out of the pretty much due south, or maybe southeast, but pretty much due south. All right. You're gonna see winds coming out of sort of this direction, and the 5,000 feet winds, just like that, classic setup, are coming out of the southwest, and that's how you get your classic spin up here. We're going to get a better look at the southeast, but if you look off to the right side of your screen, you can see that the turning of the winds with height is happening at the same exact time that we see the highest CAPE value. So we're seeing the instability, we're seeing the turning of the winds with height, both happening like at the same time, right? All right, we're going to move on to the HER model for the southeast part of the United States now, and then we're going to flip over to the NAM model. All right, so southeast, you guys, we're going to move to the end of this graph here because it's going to be on Thursday. Overnight Wednesday. Now, the good news there's really no good news coming out of this, but severe weather usually tends to weaken in the early to mid-morning. That's not always the case, though, and that may not be the case, right? I mean, you look at 8 a.m., that line still looks pretty darn intense to me, right? Coming right through Atlanta Metro at this point, right? Going all the way down through Florida. Florida, you guys are not out of it either. I mean, especially North Florida. I think Central and South Florida, you guys might get a brief clip, but North Florida definitely still in the threat just as much as Georgia and the Carolinas are. But Georgia and the Carolinas probably the highest threat regions here. But North Florida, I'm not leaving you guys out of it at all. All right. And look at the CAPE values. Right, we're going to skip ahead here. Look at the CAPE values that you're going to be seeing right through Thursday afternoon, and especially in North Carolina, you're going to be seeing high CAPE values there as well. If it does arrive earlier in the morning, that would be good. It'll be a little bit better, I should say. At least we won't have as intense CAPE values as we could have had, as opposed to if it were to come in the afternoon or evening. All right, so it all depends on the arrival of the storms as well. Significant tornado parameters, right? You guys can still see those are very high. Like, look at the line as it does push across Alabama, Georgia. like I said, could it lose some strength? Maybe, but you can see a refire of some tiny red spots here in South Carolina, North Carolina. There's still an enhanced threat from the Storm Prediction Center. Like really, like marginal is okay, but if you get a slight risk from the Prediction Center, slight risk and higher, really need to start paying attention. All right, so her model. Let's look at those turning of the winds with height. Do we have them? I mean, really, I would say the turning of the winds of height, they look better than they did in the South Central, right? I see it more distinctly, right? Winds coming out this direction of the surface, and then now it's like almost like closer to a west-southwest kind of motion, right? But still coming from the southwest. Better turning of the winds, more distinct. More distinct than it was before. And again, that's very dangerous for developing those tornadoes. All right. If you want to call this kind of like an intermission before you hop over to the NAM model, excessive rainfall outlooks, right? Slight and even moderate inside of that for Mississippi, for Alabama through western Georgia, right? If we look for, and that was day 1, right? Yeah. So that is Tuesday, right? So this is valid through kind of like today through overnight tonight, and then Wednesday you can see it's the threat there's no moderate on the screen anymore, but the slight becomes very spread out, right? We see a lot more people under the gun for excessive rainfall, and if we look at the QPF during the next 72 hours ending Friday evening, just in the reds. And again, these rainfall totals, if you get under a damaging thunderstorm, these totals could be significantly higher, all right? But in these red areas, Kansas through Missouri, this area, as well as northern Alabama, northern Georgia, you guys can see 2 to 4 plus inches of rainfall. And again, locally higher amounts if you get trapped under a particularly damaging supercell or any kind of thunderstorm. All right, we're going to be moving on to the NAM model now. Again, kind of going through this similar. I chose to use some different maps with the NAM model just to kind of give us some variability here, but similar maps we're looking at here. You can see storms swing their way through. All right, through the day. Again, overnight tonight for the central part. Dixie Alley, if you want to call it, for tomorrow, and then the southeast and southeast coast by Thursday. Right, you can see the Cape values. Look how high the Cape values are, especially in Texas. Right, you can see how high they are, and then the line kind of like a cutoff. Right, and that means that the storms are pushing through. The Cape will then drop. Right, but not before it goes up really high. Look at Mississippi. Right, according to the NAM model, again, same with the HER. 3 to 3,500 joules per kilogram. That's right around Jackson, Mississippi. If that holds true, you guys can see some particularly more damaging storms. I did choose to add the wind shear map with the NAM model. I mean, if I pulled up, you can see like on the left here, like under severe weather column, you can see how many maps there are. Like there's probably like over 12, right? So you would probably tell this video would be an hour long. And okay, and I'm not going to bore you guys for that long, right? So I did choose to use some variability with the maps. I think that's definitely a good thing. But look at the shear. The shear will be pretty high, right? Look at overnight, Wednesday into Thursday. We still got the high shear when the storms are still ongoing, right? Perfect setup we got here, really. I mean, and then by early Thursday, we'll be out of here. Shear could intensify a little bit more, but hopefully the storms will be gone at that point, and there'll be more over in this region over here, maybe closer to the southeast coast even by that point. All right. Looking at these supercell composites. All right, so instead of significant tornado parameter, we're going to be looking at supercell composites. Definitely supercell prone environments in the yellow and orange colors. Again, not everyone in that zone will be seeing supercells, but where supercell conditions, supercell development is prone. Anywhere in that yellow and orange color specifically, Mississippi, Memphis as well, you guys are included in that. And then that area move off to the east. All right, now let's move on to the southeast as we wrap it up here. You can see the line will come through. Now again, NAM isn't going to be very intense with their precip graph when you go this far out in time. 42 hours, I mean, it's still 2 days away, right? 48 hours is 2 days away. So they like to be more kind of conservative, keep it down a little bit, keep the tone down. But don't worry, the line, it's still intense. Consider when you look at the NAM model, take the yellow and the orange colors as those are your supercell thunderstorms. That's kind of how it could just be because they simulate it a little bit differently by their colors. Again, look at the Cape we have. It's going to be low, but this is the same amount of Cape that Texas had on the 12th and 13th, and look how much they still got. All right, so don't let these slightly lower Cape values for the southeast coast. Don't let that fool you in any way. I mean, don't get me wrong. Cape value will be very high for Mississippi, Alabama, for Memphis as well. If we look at the shear for the southeast, as you can see, moving through today, Thursday. I mean, right when those storms are in motion, right? Look at the shear. So if the highest shear arrives while storms are still ongoing, that's very bad for thunderstorm development. I mean, that's good for thunderstorm development, bad for us, really. Supercell composites. Really, the models are really focusing in on eastern North Carolina for some potential supercells, as well as south central Georgia. So keep an eye on that as well. Thank you guys so much for watching today's video. Stay tuned for updates. I am the Weather Dude. Signing off till next time. I will catch you guys in the next video.